Hey guys, today I'm going to talk to you about the Fermi Paradox, which is the lack of evidence for and also the high probability that there are extraterrestrial civilizations in the Milky Way Galaxy. And that basically is just questioning like if aliens do exist and they are out there, why haven't we made contact with them yet? So this idea was first introduced by Enrico Fermi in 1950. He was out to lunch with like some of his colleagues, and then he just asked the question, where is everybody? And he was kind of just in reference to like, where are all the aliens? If they're really out there, like, why haven't we heard from them yet? And it's a pretty good question, and lots of people have kind of like elaborated on it since and thought of different ideas and solutions to the lack of evidence and the high probability of ET civilizations in the Milky Way Galaxy. This video will cover the Kardashev Scale, the Great Filter, and some solutions to the Fermi Paradox. And I'll also be talking about my theory to like what I think is going on and why haven't the aliens contacted us yet. So first, let's talk about the Milky Way Galaxy. We're going to focus on just the Milky Way Galaxy because it would take too long to reach other galaxies. Like, they're literally billions of light years away. So we're just going to focus on the Milky Way Galaxy, which has 400 billion stars, which is equivalent to if there would be 10,000 stars per grain of sand that's on the Earth. And that's only what's observable. Like, that's only what we can see. There's 20 billion suns in the Milky Way Galaxy, and 4 billion of those have Earth-sized planets within the Goldilocks zone, which is the zone that's just exactly perfect to sustain life. Like, it's not too hot, not too cold. That's why they call it Goldilocks. And that is just like an insane number. So to think that we're alone is kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, no one's reached out and made contact to us, and we haven't made contact to anyone. So it's just this paradox that exists. So we've done a few things to find life in space because we've been very curious about it and insistent that there is life out there. So in November in the 70s, the Arecibo message got sent out, and it was an encoded message sent to a star cluster that was 25,000 light years away, which means that it will take it 25,000 years to get there. So they haven't received it yet. And then there was also the WOW signal, which was received in 1977, and that was out of Ohio State. Jerry Ehrman was monitoring the signals and like waiting for something to come through, and there was a message that came through that was so strong that it was 72 seconds, and it was so strong that he actually circled it on his paper and wrote WOW next to it. So now people know it as the WOW signal. And it just got me thinking, like, because of the Arecibo signal that got sent and was 25,000 light years away, it made me think, like, oh, what if the WOW signal was sent by like a race of people from 25,000 light years ago and we just received it, so they don't even exist anymore. So that's a crazy thought. Oh, we also did the Golden Record, which was launched into space. So there are 2 phonographic records, and they're on board the Voyager spacecraft, and that was in 1977. They contain sounds and images that were supposed to be representative of like what's going on Earth, kind of like a time capsule type of thing. But it was supposed to show the diversity on Earth, either for aliens or future humans, but that's just assuming that they would even understand or know how to use it. So that's also kind of like a weird thing. So this kind of like piggybacks off of that our technology might be too primitive. We send out radio waves and signals to space, but who knows if that's even effective. So it's similar to like now in 2019, if you were like sitting at your house sending out Morse code and waiting to get a signal back, you would also think that you were alone in the universe. So it's possible that we're not communicating effectively, or we don't know how to receive messages effectively. The Kardashev Scale. So this was invented by or it was proposed by some Russian guy whose last name was Kardashev, and it's something that's like widely believed, but it's based off of things that we know and understand about life and developing, and so it might not translate perfectly to like all civilizations, but this is something that is really believed by people, and I just want to tell you guys a bit about it. So there's 3 like main types of civilizations. People have expanded on it since, but this is his like original idea. So type 1 civilization has access to the whole of the energy available on their planet. And on this scale, Earth, like right now, we are 0.73 out of 1, and we're supposed to reach type 1, like be a type 1 civilization within the next couple hundred years. So type 2 civilization would be like an interstellar planet. They can access the energy of its home star. So that would be like if we were able to access the energy of the sun. Something that comes to mind is a Dyson sphere, which is something that is built. It would take a lot of technology and manufacturing, but it's something that would be built around the sun to harness the energy of the sun. If we could even capture 1% of the sun's energy, we could travel outside of our solar system and have like almost unlimited energy. So to even reach that is just like almost sounds like science fiction. Type 3 civilization, which gets even crazier, is a galactic civilization, and they would seem like godlike to us because they would be able to control the whole galaxy's energy, and they'd be able to like create stars and planets and move things. They could use planets like building blocks and merge solar systems, and like I said, create stars. So that's the Kardashev scale. And like I said, it's widely believed by people, even though it is based off of what we know to be like society to be. So who knows how life could develop on another planet, or if they would even be motivated to branch out and look for more places to spread to, because that's what this idea is based off of, that it's in the nature of life to want to spread out and expand, which is kind of true, but it's hard to say if there's humans like us somewhere else that are doing like believing this kind of scale and scaling up that way. If we're subscribing to the Kardashev scale, then we also believe in the Great Filter, which is what would prevent life from moving up on the Kardashev scale. If the Great Filter is behind us, then that means nothing is as advanced as we are, and we would be like the first life to exist, and we're the first ones out here trying to branch out and explore the galaxy. So but if it's in front of us, then none of the other planets are getting to that step, because none of them are getting to be a type 3 civilization, because type 3 is impossible or really difficult, and we're just not there yet. It's believed that civilizations usually destroy themselves or are destroyed by nature before they're able to traverse the universe. So this is because every time you move up the scale, there's more risk. So it's possible, for instance, when I was talking about the Dyson sphere, that the machine that would go around the sun to harness the energy, it's possible that you could attempt to do that and destroy the sun or destroy the earth, and then there would be no more life. So it kind of does explain why there's more risk as you move up the Kardashev scale. On the Kardashev scale, it's believed that a type 3 civilization could colonize the galaxy in a matter of 1 to 2 billion years. And so that's suspicious, because that we haven't made contact with anyone, because the universe is 13 billion years old. So like if it only takes 1 to 2 billion years, if there were others out there, surely they would have like colonized or done something or made contact. And that's assuming, based on the Kardashev scale that they're operating on, and that they would want to spread out and want to be contacted. Because I was talking about the grains of sand earlier, so there's 10,000 sun-like planets in our galaxy for every grain of sand on Earth. And then for every actual grain of sand, there's just like an Earth-like planet that exists in the habitable zone, the Goldilocks zone of that sun. So it just seems like super suspect that there's nobody else out there. So like, are we first, or are there others out there who maybe like aren't trying to like colonize and aren't trying to branch out, or do they not like want to make contact? Or are they like purposefully avoiding us? So to colonize other galaxies, like I was talking about, it would take 1 to 2 billion years, but it would also mean the extinction of your own planet, because there would be no way to prepare for that. Like there would be no, like you'd run out of resources, and so they would collapse before they colonize the solar system just because of resources and planning. So it's possible that colonization of the galaxy has been attempted before, because the Milky Way Galaxy is 13 billion years old. It's possible that somebody has existed in some other point in time and tried to colonize, but, you know, were unsuccessful, or maybe they were successful, but that would mean that it's possible that there are ancient ruins like all throughout the galaxy on other planets. Or maybe there's not. Maybe it's been so long that there's nothing left and we would never find evidence of life. This would actually be bad news, because it means the end of humanity is certain and it's ahead of us. And that's just explained by, with each leveling up, there's more risk and you're more likely to be stopped by the Great Filter. And so now it's time for some answers to the Fermi Paradox. And these are like widely believed, they're out there. If I miss any, or you guys even have any, like leave some comments and let me know what you think, because this is very interesting. So one of them that I actually really like, but is also terrifying, is that the end of technology, like once you get so far along, is virtual reality. And aliens don't need to leave their planet because they're so content in virtual reality paradise. A twist on that is that we are actually living in a virtual reality ran by aliens or machines, and that we are alone on purpose. Like it seems like, oh, the galaxy is so vast and gigantic, but it could be by design that we're alone. But then a lot of people who maybe don't believe that would question it by saying, why make a simulation so gigantic? But if you've ever seen The Truman Show, you'd know it'd be easy to get to the end of a simulation if it was too small. So another theory is that we're not detectable by them because we're just like not on the same level at all. It would be like equivalent to like you trying to communicate with like a bug or like bacteria. Like you're just not trying to have a conversation with them. You're not on their level. It's possible that we're just like that. We're too alien to them and they don't even like see us or think of us. So like I said, like a bug or, you know, like a bacteria, you wouldn't even think to like, oh, I'm gonna go see what they're up to, like look at their society and make contact with them. So it's also possible that, and this is kind of equivalent to what I was just talking about, that we're not as intelligent as we think we are. So to them, we could seem like a lower level animal, and they could just kind of be looking in, like waiting for us to get to a certain point and then make contact with us because we seem too primitive and maybe too violent or just too stupid, really. Like imagine like the smartest dog that you know, like you wouldn't like have a conversation with them, and even if you did, he wouldn't understand our civilization or like his place in it, and that is by design. So like no animal knows its purpose, but they still like do their thing. So why should humans be any different? Another possibility, and this was described to the fact that we are the first humans, that are first life in this galaxy, this universe, the solar system. But it's that life is more rare than we think. And that's a big assumption, because that's just based off of what we know life is and how life develops. So that kind of goes with the idea that back when everything was a single-celled organism, just one single one became multicellular, and then that one started to replicate. So that is kind of evidence that life is rare and kind of just random. It's also possible, and this one's funny to me because I just think we're the aliens here. It's possible that the aliens are too violent and more interested in destroying each other than exploring the galaxy. So that one is just kind of like terrifying, imagining like planets of aliens like warring with each other. But it's kind of like akin to what goes on Earth, so it's not too far off. Again, all these are based on humanity and things we know and what we understand. So like, it's just hard to not humanize things and imagine things different than our carbon-based life and how this evolves and that happens. But just in the same way that not everything has been invented yet, like it's that kind of idea. Like if you tried to explain to someone 100 years ago what a cell phone was, they would have no idea what you were talking about. They would like think you were crazy. But you know, things have to happen in steps and thoughts have to develop on it. So there's also a theory out there, and this one's kind of interesting. It's the zoo theory, and that's that the aliens are out there, they're receiving all of our messages, and they're just like watching us, like we're like in it, they're like studying us because we're interesting to them. And that was kind of like what I talked about earlier, is they're waiting for us to develop to like a certain point, and then they'll make contact with us once we seem like not such like violent beasts. Another idea or spin-off of the zoo theory is that they're watching us because they're studying us because they fear us, which is not that crazy. Like if I think if we were exploring different galaxies and found a planet that had, you know, life on it or whatever, we wouldn't just like zoom down there and introduce ourselves. We would kind of like observe and watch, because you like can't be too careful out there. So this one kind of touches on the virtual reality simulation, and that it's a machine civilization keeps biological life in check. So that would mean that we're living in a simulation and we're alone by design. And it's funny because that would mean that there was a society that got so far with technology that they developed these machines, and they were coexisting with them. Then the machines gradually like started to make decisions and take over, and eventually it would get to the point that like we would seem like the machines to them. So that's a really interesting one. Everything is based off of what we understand about humanity and space-time and the universe, things we can observe. But the galaxy is 13 billion years old and the Earth is 4 billion years old. So there's no rule that says that civilizations have to exist at the same time as each other. So it's possible, like I said earlier in the video, that there have been other Earths and other life forms, maybe not necessarily humans, like how we understand life, but it's possible that there were other civilizations that tried to branch out and were either successful or unsuccessful, but that would mean that there are, I just love the idea that there are like ancient ruins just throughout the galaxy. But at the same time, it's like how much time would go by, or with how much time would have to go by, there would be almost nothing left of, no evidence of a civilization. So it's just hard, it's really hard to say. So as I was talking about, everything's based off like what we know and understand, and the speed of light is like our galactic speed limit. as far as we know, you know, like that's all. Maybe there's some like mathematical equation that will like help us understand and be able to time travel or something. So it's possible that a civilization exists outside of our senses. Like I heard a theory that it's possible that aliens are everywhere, they're just invisible to us, which is not that ridiculous because humans can only see like a narrow spectrum of light. We can only hear like certain decibels. So it's possible they're just living outside of our perception. It's also possible, talking about the speed of light, that they're living outside of our space-time and what we know and understand to be time. So now I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about my theory, and like it's kind of all over the place. Like for a while I would think it was like laughable to imagine we were like the first or the only, and I really like the idea that, you know, other societies have existed but just not at the same time as us. So I'm not like fully subscribing to this theory, but it's just like so interesting to me that I can't not. So and again, this is based off of what we know as like humanity and what life is, but it's so natural for life to want to like expand and move outward. And that's evidenced by just the fact that we were initially single-celled organisms that crawled out of a puddle of sludge and evolved and got to this point to be humans. So it seems to me like we are again still just like little bacteria trying to climb out of a puddle of sludge and like make it into the galaxy and see what else is out there and expand ourselves. But we lack the technology to get there, and to get to level 3, it's possible that we'll destroy ourselves before we get there. And it's also possible this has happened like countless times before. So we might not necessarily like be the first to be wanting to explore, but for right now on our time, I think we might be. But again, it's possible that we're just generalizing, and there's aliens like everywhere, but they just don't want anything to do with us because we're not on their level. I just love the idea that there's a galaxy full of artifacts out there, and that this has been done like a million times before, and that we're just like slowly like marching down this path that has been marched down like who knows how many times, and we're just thinking that we're on the cutting edge of discovery and that, you know, we know all there is to know. Either way, what it comes down to is that we're either alone here or we're not. And both of those thoughts are like equally terrifying. Like imagine if we're the smartest things that exist. That's horrifying, because I think a lot of these theories where, oh, there's aliens out there, or, you know, there's other civilizations out there, is kind of like hopeful that there's someone smarter than us who knows what's going on, because we don't know what's going on here. So it's just kind of unfortunate, because at this point in time in 2019, we were all kind of born too late to explore the Earth, but we were also born too early to explore the galaxy. So it's definitely something's bound to happen, you know, but just, again, not in our lifetime. Alright guys, thanks for watching. This was a really fun video to do, so don't forget to like and comment, and let me know what you think. And don't forget to stay weird, friends, because the truth is out there.